The police officer that killed, some say murdered, Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, in his testimony that came out of the grand jury hearing, he's quoted as saying he felt like he was a 5-year-old kid and holding on to the arm of the Incredible Hulk.
Right, right.
What is it about race and racism that would have a 6'4", 225, 30-pound
Not a
police
small man.
officer with a gun,
With a gun.
feeling or being creative enough in his language to say, I felt like a 5-year-old against the Incredible Hulk?
I mean, think about that. He had
That's
weeks.
imagery. That's some serious imagery.
Oh, it is,
right
and
there.
he had weeks to prepare that testimony, so he thought about that. Either that's really how he felt, and it stuck with him weeks after when he finally was brought in to testify, or he just thought about it and said, "What language can I use that'll be the most effective?" And he went back to some really old school language. That's Birth of a Nation kind of language. You know, that Thomas Dixon who did Birth of a Nation it was either the original title of that book or one of his other ones was called The Negro a Beast. Right, and so here you have Darren Wilson saying he looked like a demon, he looked like an animal, and these are the kind of language, these are the kind of words and terms that were used regularly during the period of segregation, regularly during the antebellum period, all the way going back hundreds of years. So I find it fascinating, and the psychological research has found recently that white folks in particular tend to view black men as bigger than they are, older than they are, and more aggressive than they are. There was a study done not too long ago with white folks, not even the Darren Wilsons of the world, forget him for a minute, done with white liberal folks, liberal in the sense that when they tested them for overt bias, they didn't have any. But then they took these non-biased, quote unquote, white folks, hooked them up to brain scan imaging machines and started flashing really fast, 85 millisecond subliminal images on a computer. So fast that your conscious mind doesn't even know what you saw, but your subconscious does. Some of the images were really meaningless, a blade of grass, a bunny rabbit, whatever, a bouncing ball. It didn't really do anything on the brain image machine. But then they showed a black male face for 85 milliseconds. And that part of the brain that responds to fear, anxiety, and stress lit up like a Christmas tree as long as that image was on the screen. And then when it was gone, the reaction went away. That was among quote unquote liberal white folks. That was among non-racist in the traditional sense white folks. So if that can happen even to supposedly open-minded folks, imagine how it's going to happen to a guy who by his own admission didn't like the neighborhood he was policing in. He said, nobody likes Ferguson. Nobody likes that neighborhood. It's a bad neighborhood. If that's your attitude about a place that you're asked to go and police and the people you're supposed to work with, you can't tell me that you haven't internalized those biases, because liberal white folks did, and he's no liberal.